Hello, I'm Mark Williams, and earlier in 2021, Gethin Ellis and myself started the PHIT Podcast. Here at gethinellis.com and Wide End Limited, we know that whilst physical fitness is essential, our mental health is vital too, and our PHIT Podcast is all about putting the human back into technology, aka FIT. Building on us all coping during unprecedented times in Series 1. Available on our website, www.gethinellis.com, and YouTube, search for Gethin Ellis. We felt in Series 2 it might help us all to hear more thoughts and advice from normal, everyday humans just like you. So we're again speaking with a range of humans in technology, business, consulting and other areas to hear what they've learned and how they intend to apply that experience in dealing with today's challenges and their futures.
Okay, welcome everybody to the first episode in Season 2. This week we are joined by Interfood's Jono Atherton in our first episode in Season 2. Welcome, Jono. Welcome to the PHIT Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming along. I'm joined by Mark as usual as well. Welcome back to Season 2, Mark. You made it to a second season.
I did. I'm going to be succinct this season.
You're going to be succinct. All right, Jono. Well, the first question is usually a nice, easy one. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, your job role, what you do, that type of thing, please.
So, Interfood they're a distributor for German food processing machinery, but on an industrial scale. So, maybe 100 ton per day of product getting sliced and packaged and then distributed. We do whole line solutions, so from X-raying through to check weighing, slicing, and then packaging as well.
Right.
And the role that I do here is all of the internal ops. So everything that you'd expect from essentially a headquarters of a business, except finance. So warehousing, distribution, marketing, IT, sales, service, engineering, administration, so all that kind of stuff. So no day is the same. The customers are, and unfortunately, some of our customers are also internal, so that pain doubles. But it's good fun.
It sounds like it's quite a big setup you've got there to have. Did you say 100 ton a day going? So that's what one of our machines will do on a daily basis. They're
right. Machines, so the blades that do the slicing.
And what is it slicing? Is it food products?
Yeah, so slice anything really. So cooked meats, raw meats, cheese. If you can slice it and put it in a packet, we can do it.
I got you. Right. Okay. Cool.
I knew you had to get black pudding in there somewhere. What did you do before that, John? Tell us a little bit about how you got to Interfood.
So I'm ex-military. Joined the military 2003, late 2003. Had a great time in the military, 15 years. Did 10 years infantry where I drank my way around the world. A little bit of exercise in the middle. And then decided I need to have something that I could do when I left the military. So I went into logistics, specialised in aviation fuel. Left the military to carry on doing aviation fuel in the civil sector. Was living out of a suitcase, decided I want a bit of home life as well. So made the conscious decision to take a job 3 miles from my front door. And now I live the merry life where I ride to work on my bike. Not this morning, obviously, because of the weather, but I have a lovely ride to work in the morning. The work-life balance is exactly where it needs to be.
Fair weather cycler. I reckon we got the title for the episode already. I drank my way around the world. That's what's going out there, Jono.
That could definitely apply to more than one person.
Yeah,
on this,
all three of us on this. So obviously, Jono, you and I are currently working together actually, and getting to know a little bit about your business. So I'm going to frame this question slightly differently to how we normally frame it. But I know that you've got whatever it is, 60, 70, 80 odd people within the business. And there's a split, isn't there? There's something like, I don't know, a third, maybe a half of them are essentially office-based, and then the other half are essentially always out on the road in the field doing something or other, whether it's sales or service. Right. So I guess I'm interested in a Yeah, I suppose you'd be an SME, wouldn't you, in classical industry, classification terms. What are the sort of lessons that you've learned, essentially about the people and the technology side of things, but thinking particularly about the fact you've got two very different types of people in the business, let alone the fact you've got finance and HR and so on, but you've got lots of people on the road and lots of people very, very centrally. What's happened in the business over the last, what is it now, 16, 17 months or so since we all got first, lockdown, and how have you dealt with that? And what sort of things have you taken on board and are going to take forwards?
Interesting, actually. Like you just said, half of our workforce already work remotely, so home or wherever they are on the customer side. But when lockdown did happen and we needed to see people in the office home, it was almost as though we had a challenge doing it, because we didn't understand how we were going to work from home. We knew we could do it, but it was just how we were going to do it. But luckily, and I say luckily, I only started here in December before lockdown, but 6 months before that, IT had rolled out Teams and SharePoint, and I think that was a godsave in itself. VPNs historically are quite slow, and people have issues with their own home Wi-Fi. So we were extremely lucky in that just happened, and it was only when I got here that we started moving what would have been stored on our communal drive over to SharePoint. So that took away a lot of pain that I think we would have had we had been a year earlier. But yeah, I mean, the ERP that we operate on, as you're aware, because that's what you're working on, it's not in the cloud. So that's other issues. We essentially had several laptops set up around the building that were acting as servers that people could come into, so they could have a relatively ideal speed to work with at home on the ERP, which then meant people were having to roster when they had access to each server. So, we made the best of a bad situation. On one hand, if it had happened a year earlier, we wouldn't have had Teams and SharePoint. On the other hand, if it had happened 2 years later, we'd have been in the cloud with our ERP, and it'd have been a lot less painful. So positives and negatives, but I think the important thing for us is that our customers, internal and external, didn't really notice a difference. And obviously, because we work in the food industry, that the tempo never changed. It increased. So we managed to keep up with it.
I guess you're in that. Sorry, mate. I guess you're in that. I don't mean this in an unkind way, but you're in that industry where many people might not realise that you're absolutely critical, to UK PLC, because at the end of the day, people think of the NHS, or maybe they think of the people in Tesco's, stacking shelves and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, like stuff that's been going on recently, if the food doesn't get to the, get to the shelves, and there's nothing to stack, and clearly, if it's not cut and sliced and diced and so on and so forth, then there's nothing to pack. Yeah. And it's quite. I remember when we first met, it was sort of a moment, for me, thinking that actually, you must have been, rushed off your feet, basically, to, trying to keep things, trying to keep your own business going, and therefore, in doing so, supplying the rest of the UK.
Yeah, it was a challenge. It was fun. It was fun, and I was 3 months into the business, so I was still learning how the business operated in itself.
Yeah.
As they say, there's nothing like an emergency to get you knee deep in the business and understand.
Yeah, you probably know it better now than you would have done if you hadn't been through that process, right?
Probably know parts of it that I probably would have never got to know. But
So, Jono, just thinking about like the technology and stuff that you were reliant on to sort of pivot to the degree you needed to keep going during lockdown. I'm guessing there still would have been people on site during the darkest days of lockdown, because you just, the machines don't go home with someone, I'm guessing, right? Those slicers sound like they're quite industrial and quite heavy. But in terms of the technology the guys were using, I've lost my question now. Hold on.
Confidence.
Is it confidence? Right. Yeah. Right. Yes. Have your users, have they grown in confidence using the technology?
100%.
Yeah.
And whilst it is hugely about technology for us, and I guess it's one and the same, it's communication for us, which Teams has helped massively. historically, Mark's been here, so we've seen it. We've got one big office, so if there's something going on, people get up and they walk across to each other. You can have that conversation, it's done. And that was one of my concerns about everyone going home. But actually, Teams alleviated that. We've got several different Teams channels for guys that work together routinely. So, if it's sales and warehouse, they've got their own chat. And, it's actually, in between the warehouse and some of the teams, it's removed that obstacle because the warehouse are physically dislocated from what I call the office team. So actually, it's brought them closer with communication. But yeah, as confidence-wise, people are now using Shift. Believe it or not, I got a link sent to me the other day instead of an actual attachment. That's progress. So yeah, there's definitely a lot. And what's helped is all the way through the, as you called it, the dark ages or the dark stage of lockdown, we've been working this ERP implementation plan all along as well. So not only have we been learning technology to help us, we've been learning technology for the future. I think the momentum has always been there, and the positive attitude towards it. So yeah.
Cool.
So, you've had. I think you're the first guest that we've had on, Jono, that's had a forces background. So this, so it might be an interesting question in that context. So the question's all about the best piece of advice that you've been given in your career or in business to date. What would you say is the one thing that you've learned from whoever in the little while that you've been working now, that sticks with you?
For me, it's got to be never turn an opportunity down. Take it, run with it. Even if you don't know how to do it, just cuff it until you can do it. Yeah, cuff it, blag it, do what you need to.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
That's the one. Never turn it down. And that's not just opportunities in the workplace. That's everywhere. Never turn down a beer because you never know who. You never know who you're going to meet and what you're going to come across.
We might have another challenger for the title there.
It's funny because you say, "Do you want to come for a beer?" And how often do people say no? It's not often.
Yeah. The end of the working day when everyone's like, "Should we just go and have a beer?" And you always get a few people. "Oh, I've still got this to do." Still going to be there in the morning. You go for a beer, and it might alleviate some of those problems.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna interject with something that might be coming later on in the because I know a little bit about what you were doing during prior to lockdown. So we'll save that. We'll save that for later. For now.
Well, I guess that's a never turn an opportunity down or never turn down a beer is some great advice to end part one. So, Jono Atherton, thank you for joining us on part one. We'll be back in very shortly with part two.